greetings, this is this, and I'm me. And I tried to stop it. I like was just eking out of the door, and I was like, no, don't walk out the door, go back in. And so that's how I'm at 68 steps, because I did step out and then I did step in. And now that I realize it, don't I want to be out there anyway? I feel like I want to be out there anyway because of what happened last episode. We bust open that door down there, so I've got to check it. So I could have just stayed out there, but whatever. You know, this is this, and I am me. You can't take that away, right? Like, it's just who I am. The struggle is real because the struggle is me. And it's just what happens. So let me draft some rooms real quick right here. So obviously a possible like goal portion of the day could be get the coat check, get the power sledgehammer back out of it, and knock down some more walls that we come across. But I don't know if we're going to be coming across those rooms. I don't know what's happening. I'm just so curious. Like, I know it might use extra steps for me and whatnot, because I don't know if I even want to draft there right now. It's going to kind of be like an emergency access point. Probably, right? Like, oh no, our pathing is totally cooked. You know, we really can't get any further. We didn't get to the, I don't know, because I don't really know what I want to do today. I guess we'll go shrine, because technically there's a new thing to look at in here, right? It's so tiny. I shouldn't open that up, right? It's a curse. What was it called? Cursed coffers, right? So it's like, it's money. It's an extra bin of money, but it will give me a curse. So if you're really desperate for a few more coins, is it something like that maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do today. 15. I've never donated 15 before, have I? Let me get out my trusty old book here. Let's figure out what we've got going on. If you can see here, the shrine. Let's see. Perhaps I've changed my accent 4 different times now. 4, 5. The most I've ever done is 10. And it didn't seem like that was helpful at all. 5 was pretty good. 7 is alright. 7 and 8 were the same. 10, it was not good. Let's see if 15 gives us something different. Confirm. Whoa, I did get a different one. You have received the blessing of the berry picker. While drafting, instead of picking a floor plan, you can pick a berry. If you do, draft a floor plan at random from your draft pool, disregarding rarity. If I do pick a berry, then that's going to draft a floor plan at random from my draft pool, disregarding rarity. That sounds insane. Why would I ever do that? Okay, well, we tried something new today. I mean, I'm glad to see that, like, there was a new and very different blessing. You know, like, that seems so, like, it's unlike anything else that I could have guessed. So that's fun, but I don't know if I like that. You guys know I don't like not being able to know what the pathing is going to be and stuff. Okay. So this is open. This is open. So that is what I was assuming would happen. Can I draft off of the foundation? Is my foundation in a really good spot or what? Why do I constantly think that that's the right button? Like, it is exactly halfway up. If it were only 1 over, it would be like exactly in the middle, right? Like, that's so nice. Like, how convenient for a shortcut foundation. Well, maybe the foundation is meant to be drafted. Like, it shows up in your draft pool at that rank only. It's possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Let me through. Why did you move this? I used to be able to walk over this. Who moved this? Hello? Am I still holding it? Okay, I'm not. Who moved that? I don't feel like it was in the way before. I've walked past it like 3 times. Okay, yeah, so can you go this way? Wow, you can. Oh, but Oh. Oh. That's when it would become relevant for the stinking thing there. Okay, I'm putting everything together now. So yeah, if you happen to be kind of blocked off, you can use this as an extra path, but only if you have the key card or the power is turned off. Well, that's really fun. I mean, it's difficult, you know. They don't let the shortcuts ever be easy. There are a lot of things that come into play in order for you to be able to utilize the shortcuts that they, I guess, are trying to present here. But I like that. I like that. Okay, let's go commissary first to try and see what we've got for sale. Gems, keys, salt shaker, shovel. Okay. I'll leave it all for now. Pick a wild berry is just so strange. Well, because I'd like to get the pathing all the way through, always, we'll go for pantry here. So yeah, I don't really know, besides the knocking down the wall thing, what else I would be, like, directly looking for today, directly hoping to accomplish. I know that there are still more things, but I feel like the game is surprising me. Like, I can try to think of what I should get, but the game ends up just, like, presenting me with things that I, like, didn't even really remember or didn't really think that I should be prioritizing. So I feel like we kind of just go where it takes us to a small degree. I'm losing so much money, but that's okay. I could just pick a wild berry. A wild berry could give you a dead end, though. It's really not the best. I should have done wild berry down at the bedroom closet. But also, you could be wasting good pathing down there, you know, like by putting a wild berry where there's a dead end. It's complicated. I don't know what. Breakfast nook, I guess. And I know I should have picked up the gem in the den. But I didn't know that I wouldn't be able to just circle right back, because there kind of could have been pathing back there to connect everything together. The passageway would be expensive, but it would be nice pathing wise. So the wild berry, I guess I'm assuming, you know, that a benefit of it is it's because the downfall is you don't know what you're getting. And then the benefit is, but you could get something really rare. But also, the benefit is you get something for free. Like, you don't have to pay for it? I'm not sure. Let's go Mount Holly gift shop. I don't have the money for it, but it's giving me better pathing. But then I'm going to circle back down, and we're going to start drafting off the other section. Because I've gone too far this direction. I'm getting too deep into the ranks without getting my benefits, you know, from the early ranks. So, okay. Not much there, supposedly, maybe. Parlor at the corner. Always a good way to go. Grab the thing. And circle around. I don't see anything on a quick perusal. The gems are in this box. The gems are in a box next to this box. The gems are in the blue box. Okay. So if the gems are in this box is true, then that would force this one to be true, that the gems are in the blue box. And so if both of these are true, then you would want this one to be false, but the gems are in a box next to this box would be true as well, because they're in that box, which is next to this box, you know? In order for this one to be true, the gems are in there or in there. In order for this one to be false, the gems are in here. Okay. But yeah, so this can't be true because it forces that to be true and it forces that to be true. So that means this one has to be false, which would mean this one has to be false, that the gems are in the blue box. That's false and this is false. So this box has to be true, and if they're not in that one, then they're in this one. This is making perfect sense to me. Okay. And it made perfect sense to them, too. West Wing Hall is going to be the way to go. We've got a beautiful, lovely corridor here. Some nice wallpaper on the walls. The windows are currently boarded up, but I'm sure that when you purchase this home, you can open those right on up. Have a wonderful time. I guess if this is going to dead end anyway, we might as well put the storeroom here. Which means I have to circle back to the den and get the gem. I thought we would circle back there after. I thought, put a spot there that has pathing, because that's going to be great for us in the future. And then I went and blocked all the pathing off before I went in. Maybe I should have gone there first. Maybe that would have been a smarter idea. I don't really know. But it's all the luck of the draw at this point. It's all just the luck of the draw. Okay, now we can go in here. I guess we could have gone in here before as well because it's a dead end, so you're going to backtrack out of it anyway. And moving forward, next up we have security. Yes. Because the pathing worked nicely. And so this will allow me to go and call the elevator, I guess. A key and a trunk. Oh, no. Mount Holly, whatever it's called. The gift shop wouldn't have that. Was there a trunk in the den? I meant to check, but then I was moving through it so quickly that I didn't. Low, unlocked. No. High and unlocked. Oh, no. Low and unlocked because I didn't turn the power off yet. Okay. Exit. A key and a trunk. Mount Holly gift shop. I don't feel like it would have either of those things in it. So which room that I really just barreled through still had a key in it? I mean, it's not in this room, right? They never give you anything like that in here. And, like, I don't have the metal detector, so I wouldn't expect there to be anything on the floor or anything. I guess if I really need it, we're going to have to search for it later. For now, we'll go boiler room because it's cheaper than the office. And I guess seeing as that door is blocked off, I can do this and turn the power back on anyway. So would I rather have the power go north or west? Probably doesn't really matter. Just do it like that for now, I guess. And then I don't know if we'll need it or want it. Ooh. Okay. Losing half my steps right now is definitely very tough. And I don't have the coat check, so I don't have the power hammer. But I would love the opportunity. You know? Maybe it's too soon, though. Maybe we can just draft it again. I'll go for the dark room first. Okay, so the power... Okay. But this room has power. I thought that that wouldn't happen because it was powered. Man, I need the circuit breaker anyway? Okay, this is not good. We do still have 2 paths that other way. So I could go garage here. No, just go utility closet. Streamline everything. Keycard entry system off. Gymnasium off. Darkroom on. Garage on. Okay. This is fine. Like, I already feel like 40 steps is a little low, honestly. And we're already below that, so it's a bit dangerous. Broken lever. Okay. So now I kind of have, like... Well, I mean, I don't really have 2 broken levers, but, like, I have a broken lever, but I already made the power hammer. Which uses the broken lever. So that's kind of weird, but... Okay, I guess we go this way. Am I gonna go archives already? Really? Let's just go archives, and then every time that we choose the archived floor plan, we pick a berry. Because if you're picking the archived floor plan, you don't know what you're getting. But I think it still costs a certain amount of money. And it's probably still follows the rules of rarity. Whereas if you pick a wild berry, you get to possibly ignore the cost, and you get to ignore the rules of rarity. So wouldn't it just be better to just pick a wild berry every time you have the archived thing? Yeah, I don't see any keys or... what was the other thing that I left behind, possibly? Oh, a trunk. The trunk is probably just in the den. This and this, like, I can't purchase either of these things at all yet. Like, even if I had whatever you need, it's like I just don't. You get what I'm saying. Okay. But I just wonder if there's a key in the den. Did I really leave a key behind in the den? I got the one from the breakfast nook. I got the one from the bedroom closet. And I got the 2 from the storeroom, right? Maybe the spare bedroom did have something in it, and I ran through there. I really did just run straight through. Huh. Okay. Well, I don't know. Boudoir is not bad. Honestly, it's manageable. So we'll take it. Ooh! Thank you for the extra item. And I also get a gem right on through over this way. Thank you. Okay. Morning room is turned the wrong way. Kitchen we can work with. I'll get myself a little snack. And then we're almost to the foundation. This feels very bright in here. Okay, what's on the menu today? Okay. So this is 10 steps for $8. This is 15 steps for $8. This is obviously better. Thank you. I needed that. And here we go. Oh, East Wing Hall. Okay. Thank you. Oh my god. An orange? Really? I feel like East Wing Hall is kind of rare. I don't feel like I get it nearly as often as West Wing Hall. And not just because I have 2 West Wing Halls in my drafting pool. I feel like I always got West Wing Hall more often than I got East Wing Hall. Okay. There are 2 dig spots in here. But I didn't buy the shovel. And I'm glad I didn't buy the shovel, because I needed that money for food. Okay. This is really bad. We blocked off the archives pathing. I could go ballroom to guarantee that we have some pathing here, or I could pick a wild berry. But it might be a dead end. I think we gotta go for pathing. Okay. Ballroom it is. So I won't run out of gems, per se. But it might be difficult to keep hold of a lot of gems. The floor is so shiny. Okay. Library, please tell me library. Okay, yes, library pathing is good. I checked out a book, right? Yes. Okay, guys, we've got a new book today. New book, new book. Anything else in here? No, I could check the thing upstairs, but do I need to right now? I don't know. This is The Curse of BlackBridge by Redford Ewing. Okay, I'm the only one that's checked it out, obviously, because I purchased this from the bookshop. Okay. The Curse of BlackBridge. Creepy. Okay. Sure. Forward. The legend of BlackBridge is one that's well known to the people of the Grand Realm, for versions of this tale have been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colorful, more verbose, and, as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale to text seemed an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story's heart remained the same. Yet the more I listened, the clearer it became that there could never be a definitive version of this tale capable of capturing all the wonder and myth of BlackBridge. In the end, I chose to write down what felt most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Is that something on my screen or something in the book? Oh, must be something on my screen. Okay. I'm not seeing any little sneaky clues in here or anything. Okay. So let's read. Part 1. The Berry Picker from Oris. Isn't that strange? That I would be blessed with the blessing of the berry picker on the same day I read the book about the berry picker? That's weird. Wow, okay, this is a lot of... How much is this? Oh my... oh my god! Okay, I'm gonna do my best, but this might tax some people, including myself. I mean, I love to read, but, like, I get antsy that, like, I'm gonna be... people are losing interest. Many, many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws composed of society's worst in a time when society was at its worst, and for each crime that fearful travelers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed, each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often value their coffers more than their companions, no crime could measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of this so-called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jesper, who had not been lucky in life, having lost 2 brothers to war and parents to famine. In the years of hunger that followed, Jesper lived in a gutter behind the churchyard, relying on the nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of the alleyway to sustain his pitiful existence. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you certainly painted a picture there, didn't you? It is not surprising that a child aiming to escape such hardships would take an easy road out, an easy and well-traveled road, paved with temptations leading out of the city and into the gentry lands, where loose purse strings entwine with the strands of salvation and glisten equally with the hope of opportunity. Okay, It was this road that eventually led Jesper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of BlackBridge Canyon. It was here that he met his surrogate family and saviors, that notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite the hardened circumstances that had led him to this vocation of banditry, Jesper was surprisingly tender-hearted and was often teased by the group for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jesper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just innocence that set berry picking apart from the gang's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jesper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest that he alone worked, while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of BlackBridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jesper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out into the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant Jesper could reach the furthest most berry patches without worry of being chastised for tarrying upon his return. I already tried to read that line once before and tried again. It's not going to get better than that. Furthermost is not the easiest word to say in flow. It took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination, and along the way Jesper had passed by many a familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bereft of berries that one would have to dedicate several moments in earnest examination before finding a single one. Jesper was patient, but even patience has its limits. He was confident that even accounting for the time lost to this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pains. Surveying the patches in this new grove surprised even Jesper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as stars in the skies. Upon seeing such a bounteous sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over out of joy. Once he had regained his senses, Jesper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of this newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates, who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute the success to hard work. Smiling at his plan, Jesper set off to fill his basket and was making steady strides in the task when the sound of thundering hooves interrupted him. Wow, bold young lad! He has decided he's going to try to outwit the bandits. A carriage! A carriage is approaching! The thought of it made Jesper freeze. Had he been so enchanted by his discovery that he had neglected to observe his surroundings? How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept toward the impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment more before the sound's source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jesper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around the corner of trees, led by 2 beautiful white horses, and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated atop the vehicle, flaunting the most sophisticated regalia Jesper had ever seen. It was not just any carriage. It was a royal carriage. Even without ever having witnessed such a sight before, Jesper was certain. The sight had so transfixed Jesper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effect that the noble steed slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You, boy, get out from behind that bush," he shouted with a rigidity that betrayed a modest amount of fear. "You startled me half to death, coming round the bend of my own drive, and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where there ought not be any face." Jesper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was suitable for courtly behavior, not dashing through the bramble and mud. I was picking berries." Jesper raised the half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see the proof of his words. The demeanor of the man suddenly changed. It was a change that Jesper was familiar with. He had many times seen the same stern expressions on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicions that the driver might have had instantly evaporated, for even the notion of a member of the Unholy Hounds picking berries seemed farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say, you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jesper took his cue to finally step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. "I know. What luck I found them. I have only just begun picking, and look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time back home to procure this number." The driver bent down for a closer look. "And where is your home, boy? It must be quite far." Jesper replied with a scripted response. "A little south of Tanner Fork, just past the burnt woods." "My God, that is far. You couldn't have come all that way only this morning." It was true. Tanner Fork was in the exact opposite direction that Jesper had traveled, and while that response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to BlackBridge Canyon, he could see why it might seem less believable here. "Sir, I have traveled much farther for much less profit. I dare say there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth undertaking for a price such as these. Surely you have tasted them for yourself?" Jesper felt happier with this response, as it seemed to amplify the man's smile. "In my youth, often, but perhaps it took for granted because I never had to travel very far." "Perhaps I took it for granted." "And even then, my father would always drive us here in our carriage, so I'm ashamed I never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." It was Jesper's time to smile. "Then let my efforts reward us both today." He raised the basket even higher. "A taste in memory of your youth, sir." The driver chuckled and removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket. And at that moment his fingers touched the first berry. The dagger in turn met his throat, cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood. Jesper caught the man's startled eyes. "And for that taste, I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth." This took a turn! I forgot that it literally said at the beginning of the story, it was like, oh, when he was 13 or whatever, he had his experience of becoming one of the baddies, but I was wondering, like, this picture is so creepy, and I was like, what are they gonna, like, it can't be that the berries are poisoned or something, because, we all know these berries, right? Like, it wouldn't have been a trick like that, right? But it seems so suspicious. He just had a knife. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so, like, super evil, super bad. The driver, if I were the driver, I would be absolutely infuriated. But, like, he is hopefully just getting robbed, not getting, like, hurt. It was a superficial layer. The driver's arm had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, more frightened than he had ever been before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at this particular time. Jesper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. "Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause, though I will admit the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me." Wait, did he say that? "I'm ashamed I've never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." I mean, he didn't say it was an indignity. Like, I don't think he was being offensive, was he? He was just kind of like, I couldn't possibly relate to you, poor little boy, because I grew up rich, and so I'm sorry that I can't relate. Wow. Okay. Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jesper pivoted to search the seat under him. "Why have you no purse upon your person?" The driver slowly raised his hand cautiously, pointing toward the carriage door behind him. Jesper lowered the knife's edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did, in turn, softly. "There's a lockbox in the carriage." "Well, come down, then, and grant me the courtesy of sparing your life and binding your hands, a concession, I assure you, of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat." Oh my God. The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat of the carriage. Once down, Jesper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree, where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jesper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jesper had seen on this man's face, now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, should I grant you the same clemency you are showing me? Jesper stopped, surprised by the question, but ignored it, secured the final bindings, and then hastily returned to the carriage. With one hand on the door's handle, he turned back to the man. If there is no lockbox, there will be no clemency. Inside the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished golden facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in this vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jesper had suspected. The driver of this carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master. Any curiosity that this observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing what rested under the carriage's back seat. A large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle. Within a few minutes, Jesper had dislodged it from its hold and carried it out into the sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, 2 observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all 4 sides of the box hinted that the box was very old and likely not created by Arindian hands. It reminded him of artifacts from the old world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. Whoa. Okay, but so who is this dude? So he might not have grown up rich at all. Like, he might be a complete farce. Or he might be... Because it says he was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master. He could be a thief. He could be... It could be his own carriage, and he's just like, well, I can't ride in the carriage if I am driving the carriage. You know, some of what he's saying could be true, but he could be lying completely. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock and would not open easily without a key. Jesper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his indentured position. Do you perhaps have a key you can provide me to open this box? Without emotion, the driver replied, There is no key to that box. Jesper stood up. Easy enough, then. He headed over to a nearby rock of sizable dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever a time when that lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone had completely shattered the rusted lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure chiseled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jesper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised how heavy it seemed, given how light the box had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly to the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver's smile had once again returned. You are cursed, boy, for deadly is the stone. You have opened that which should never have been opened, and you are cursed. Interesting. So first of all, I don't know why he was expecting gold if he thought that the box was light. Just saying. But okay. Very interesting. So this dude's just driving around with a cursed, deadly stone in a box, in a carriage, and nothing else. Okay. Jesper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. What is this? That's one. Feeling his disappointment rising to anger now, Jesper tightened his grip on the effigy. One what, you mumbling... I don't know what that word is. And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person? Wait, can we translate that word? Is it part of the language that we wrote down the other day? Where did I write that language? Let's see. First, the AJ would be first. And then I don't know what the ENTOR. ENTOR. That's not in here. So is he calling him like an old man or something? Like first man would be like, you know, like grandfather or something like that. And why have no purse upon your person? The man did not seem intimidated. 1 pace. He paused for effect. 12 more, and you will be dead." He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. If there was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Oh God! Oh God! If there was ever a time when the lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Because the rusty old lock, and now they're saying, oh my God. Okay, this is so dark. Jesper looked down at the sculpted stone figure, now splattered red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He had, of course, heard stories of curses, and had never doubted their validity in the past. But now that he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, his mind pleaded with him to be skeptical. And if he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, to say nothing of the chances of procuring a remedy. I mean, he could stand in place until someone else showed up, maybe, but I don't know how long that would last. If he did not move from where he now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days. Okay. Maybe more given the abundance of nearby berries. A plan that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might prove additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good would that do? Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. To be discovered here, beside a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would most certainly be better to face one's fate now, take a dozen paces, and see if life goes on. Okay, but Jesper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limb to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling the desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked about him for a solution. And if, by some stroke of luck, the gods had heard his plea, a miracle materialized before him, as if he found himself suddenly at the end of a fairy tale. 2 white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him, the answer to his immediate prayers. Oh, okay, I see. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4, perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. Well, the basket of berries, maybe. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, as that appeared to be of some value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task too great to chance. And so, after a profound breath, he took his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th steps, though they were quite large. Seated now behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realized that he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fictitious, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox, whose typical function oft secures objects of value. Having witnessed first-hand the horrors of destitution, Jesper found his mind equally reluctant to allow his hand let go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care have I? And with that statement said aloud, to the horses seemingly, Jesper took up the reins with confidence. Please tell me there's another page and that's not the end of the story. Part 2! Okay, below the Black Bridge. So, if I don't read the rest now, I have to check the book out again, right? Part 1 took so long. Let me see how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, oh god, 8, 9, 10. There's still a lot. Okay, if you guys don't want to hear it, then, whatever. Watch time gets tanked and you hate me. But I want to hear it, so I'm reading part 2. I don't care. Part 2, Below the Black Bridge. I hope I didn't need the magnifying glass for anything here, because I have not been using it. This just sounds like a fun story. Is there gonna be anything special? Like any hints or clues or anything? Anything suspicious? I don't know. Huh. Okay, because I haven't been taking notes, I've just been having a good time. Miller awoke to some light nudging from a familiar foot. Only one person would have the cheek to awaken her in such ill-mannered fashion. Okay, Miller is the girl in the pictures, I'm assuming. Shaking the sleep from her eyes, she glared up at him in the darkness, but did not say a word. He nudged her again, teasingly, then stepped back into the dim. After taking a moment for her eyes to adjust to the darkness of the cave, Miller remembered. She was on third watch today. Quietly collecting her things and wits, Miller turned as she left, waving to her young friend, who was more than likely already asleep. She crept through the cavern's main passage, careful not to wake the sleeping bandits around her. Like a hero in a book, she often mused. Quietly, she grabbed a bow from the haphazard formed pile of weapons, shaking the accompanying quiver in the darkness to assess how many arrows it held. She then walked toward the sun-drenched mouth of the cavern, ready to start her shift. Above her, in one of the few trees found in the canyon, Miller could see that Ravia was already posted. She waved, and Ravia waved back. Calling out to each other was strictly forbidden. Anything louder than a gesture in the canyon was forbidden. When Miller reached the tree, Ravia lowered a braided rope and pointed to the ground behind her. Miller turned, following the finger, and saw a pail of water resting beside a nearby log. She turned back to Ravia, nodded, and secured the pail to the rope. The pail went up first, and in turn, Miller followed. Ravia reached across to grab the water. Miller leaned back to give her space. There was not much room for maneuvering in this tree post, a necessary concession for the concealment the outpost demanded. Ravia tilted the pail up to her mouth dramatically, illustrating how thirsty she had been. Miller laughed silently as water poured out, splashing onto Ravia's face. It was a bit too daring and nosy of a joke, and had the others been around, they would have certainly been scolded for the unwarranted sound. But Miller appreciated the efforts Ravia took to verbalize the silence of the morning. They had been on third watch together for over a month, and during that speechless time, their friendship had grown into something special. Affection was unsurprisingly scarce among the holy hounds, the unholy hounds. She had felt camaraderie before, of course, but intimacy, never. From their elevated vantage, the girls could see both the concealed entrance of the cavern as well as a clear view of the bridge that spanned across the canyon. BlackBridge was the link between the Gentry lands and the northern mountains, the overpass that connected Oris and Reddington. To the city-faring travelers of the realm, the bridge was an unavoidable crossing. In the day, the task was to ensure that travelers passed by without stopping. At night, the task was to ensure that they do. In the day, the task was to ensure that travelers passed by without stopping. Okay, because they don't want to be found out. And then at night, they want to rob them, obviously. Like most of her band, Miller preferred the night. The biting glare of the sun might be tolerable to farm hands and bricklayers, but to a cavern-housed bandit, it was a source of constant annoyance. In the day, there was no shroud to conceal her expressions, nor to hide her thoughts. She felt exposed. Ravia touched her elbow and pointed up. Miller, striving to suppress a budding smile, subtly shook her head in response. There were many signs that the unholy hounds used in lieu of words, but the two of them had developed an extended vocabulary. Gestures quietly forged in the shared solitude of their month among the branches. She watched as Ravia shifted, placing her palms flat on the floorboards beneath them. Miller knew what she was trying to say, but shook her head a second time. It was often more fun to pretend not to understand. Oh, so she's like, doing the gesture, and Miller's like, I don't know, I don't get it. Ravia rolled her eyes and turned away, looking back to the canyon. Squinting through the leaves, the two girls held still, watching and listening. It was not long until Miller, too, heard the sounds of approach. Oh, she's trying to tell her, I can feel the vibrations. A carriage is on its way, maybe. Ravia held up two bent fingers, and a few moments later, two men emerged from the bridge's southern end. They were dressed in a familiar uniform, long gray coats with black facings, white waistcoats, and black tricorn hats. They belonged to the local patrol, the Black Guard. Although not an everyday occurrence, their presence at BlackBridge wasn't an unusual sight. It typically indicated an important traveler's impending passage across the bridge, information that the girls would promptly relay to their leaders as soon as the coast was clear. But this report, while exciting, was rarely acted upon. In Miller's 5 years in the Unholy Hounds, she had never once seen a carriage taken in open daylight when the blackguard was nearby. Okay, so basically what they're saying is, we know that someone rich is on the way. Wait, oh, I've been going forward instead of back. Okay, so this is the page I want to be on. Yeah, so they know that rich people are on the way. And if rich people are on the way, then we should tell the leaders of the bandits. But they're saying, even though we tell them, if it's broad daylight and stuff, and the blackguard are there, like, they don't rob them. That's too dangerous. Okay. The men had nearly reached the bridge's north end when Miller heard the horses, faintly at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Ravia's eyes met Miller's, the same concern mirrored in each other's expression. This did not sound like the typical carriage, cautiously approaching the bridge to cross. Instead of the familiar crunch of the high road's gravel, they heard the harsh clattering of hoofbeats against stone. Both girls quickly redirected their attention downwards, looking through the foliage. The sounds were not coming from the high road, but from the canyon itself. The horses were coming from below the bridge. In an instant, Miller had knocked an arrow and drawn her bow. Go! Ravia was gone before the whisper had even left Miller's mouth. The young scout was already sliding down the bank below, racing towards the cave. There was no road that ran below the cavern. There was no reason for numerous horses to be approaching their cave. There was only one reasonable conclusion, and both girls had reached it instantly. The base had been compromised. This was a blackguard attack. Oh, okay. The moment the horses came into view, Miller let loose her first arrow. She was surprised to see a carriage. She had expected cavalry. Before she even finished processing that thought, her second arrow was in the air. Without a trail, it would be unthinkable for a carriage to traverse through such rough terrain, yet she watched as the wheels jolted over the rocky riverbed. A third arrow was now in flight, and there would be no need for a fourth. The driver slumped over just moments before the vehicle dipped into a small ditch, slamming into an embankment. The force of this sudden halt immediately shattered the front two wheels and catapulted the driver from his seat. Utterly confused now, Miller quickly glanced over her shoulder to see if any horses were also approaching from the rear. Down in the canyon, the entire horde of the Unholy Hounds came spilling forth from the earth, as if heck itself had suddenly sprung open. The group seemed even more bewildered than Miller, half asleep and tripping over one another in a desperate attempt to engage an unseen enemy in combat. Miller could see Ravia among their number, the only one looking up at her. Her expression was chilling. There would be no need for a silent gesture to convey what they both now realized. They had made a mistake. This is so crazy! Who did they shoot? Who did they kill? Why was there a carriage going underneath the bridge towards their cavern? Oh my god! It's Jesper! 'Cause Jesper lives his life in the carriage! But why would they have been so surprised about Jesper? Like, wouldn't they have known Jesper? Like, wouldn't Jesper be frequenting this place all the time in his carriage? Or does he always stay away because, like, you can't get the carriage down there? Okay. The gang's chieftain, Geoffrey Heartslasher, led the others, cautiously approaching the crashed carriage like a suspicious fox would near a baited trap. There were no words exchanged as the group crept forward in customary silence. A dozen or so paces in front of the wreckage lay the far-flung driver, an arrow protruding from his broken body, and beside him a blood-stained effigy carved from stone. Oh my god, this is insane. Miller was inconsolable. Jesper had always been her favorite. He had always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the hems of her every move, the way a child trails behind an older sibling. Wait, this is not in the future? This is at the same time. Jesper... This is Jesper on his way home immediately. I thought that time had passed, and this was like a new era of the Unholy Hounds, and Miller was like the youth. You know, Miller and Ravia were like the new youthful batch of people, and Jesper had grown old and had like taken upon it, you know? This is Jesper on his way back from claiming this cursed thing for the first time ever after the berry picking. Is that what you're telling me? And they wouldn't have ever expected him to come in the carriage, but of course they wouldn't have known because they didn't know about the carriage and they didn't. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Miller was inconsolable. Jesper had always been her favorite. He had always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the hems of her every move, the way a child trails behind an older sibling. Tender-hearted, she had always called him, though deep down she had known that wasn't quite true. His appearance of gentleness concealed a raw, resilient durability that emerged in the most perilous of situations. He had been a flower among the nettles of this cave, but he still had thorns, honed by a grim past and 100 hands of misfortune. They buried him in the darkness, in the back of one of the larger cavern rooms. He was interred with a berry basket and a silk handkerchief that he treasured. The mysterious effigy they had found beside him served as a distinguished gravestone, a marker that stood out as somewhat special among the rows of similar swords marking neighboring plots. No one spoke, not even in whispers. There was nothing to say. They don't even know. They don't even get to know, like, why he came riding down through in the carriage. They don't even know what happened to him. They don't know about the berries. They don't know about anything. Miller awoke the next day to a thunderous shaking and rattling of the earth, a far cry from the playful nudging of the previous day. She strained to adjust her eyes, but the choking sting of stirred-up dust caused her to flinch. Panic was also in the air. The sounds of scurried footsteps and clattering feet filled the space around her. But even in alarm, the silence was louder. What was it that sounded so strange? Like, I thought Miller and Ravia were young as well. I mean, maybe they are, like, but they have to be older than Jesper, which I think, didn't they say he was 13 or something? So maybe they're like, 16? I don't know. But it sounded like they were youthful. Miller closed her eyes tight and used her feet to guide her along the passage. The whispers around her were getting louder, and intense voices could be heard ahead. Louder speech than she had ever heard spoken in the canyon. A growing dread grew as Miller approached the mouth of the cave. Her eyes now opened wide despite the dust. Shouldn't it be day? Miller felt a hand in the darkness, pulling at her. It was Ravia. The two embraced, and Miller did not need to see her to understand. Ravia placed 2 bent fingers against Miller's cheek, and with that touched against her face, Miller felt the same sinking feeling from the previous day. 2 bent fingers confirmed what Miller had suspected. The girls had forgotten to relay one critical piece of information to the others. Oh, yeah! Because they did see the guards on the bridge. Like, that is still something that happened. They had 2 fingers for the 2 men on the bridge. But because they heard the hoof, the horses below, they thought, oh, those 2 things, oh my God, this is a fantastic story. An hour or so later, the screams began. Blood-curdling cries of hopeless desperation. Captain Fodrick Lee of the Blackguard looked down from the ridge of the canyon to the collapsed entrance of the cave. Ah, he grinned. Now they speak. Oh my God. That's so grotesque and evil. Okay. An hour or so later? So, okay. So are Miller and Ravia? They're not okay. Nobody's okay. The unholy hounds were eliminated in that moment. Oh no. So the Blackguard, I mean, they were stopping the bandits. But the bandits weren't killers. They were just thieves, from what I could gather. Which, if you compare the two, they're not as bad, I'd say. That's kind of crazy. Okay, let's look at our new stats, just for anyone curious, and to see if there's anything extra. Gallery art names, don't even get me started. You know, just see if there's any new information in any of these books. Flip through the pages real quick, but we're gonna have to finish up the rest of this day quickly, I guess, because the book took such a long time to read. But I loved that story. That's like the best story within a game that I think I've ever read. I mean, I don't know how many other ones that I would compare it to. I mean, that I would, I don't know how many others I could think of, you know? I just need to draft one more classroom to take my final exam. See, I knew it. I knew it. Okay, someday we'll get that final exam. I was blocked off that one day. I couldn't do it. I wanted to, and I knew I should, but I just couldn't. But yeah, I don't know how many other stories within games I can think of right off the top of my head, but that's definitely one of the best. Okay, so Dead End. Basically, Dead End. We don't know what it is. It could be the oh, I can't afford it anyway, though. But I was going to say, it could be the cloister or something. Usually it would have a lot of paths if it's this many gems, but it could also be the vault, which is a dead end. So we're going to pick a wild berry. And the amount of things in my draft pool that would give me pathing in any direction is better than the options here. Like, there's a high chance that there's something... Oh, interesting. Okay, well, this is good for... I don't know if I want to pick up all these gems. Because if I have to travel back through the ballroom, I'm going to lose them. Look at my beautiful trophies. I have 3. No, I have 4. Oh, nice. Well, we need 8 in order to do that other thing, right? Or in order to unlock the thing or something? I don't know. Oh, there's still so much to be done. But yeah, if we have to come back through this way, I'm going to lose those gems in the ballroom, so I shouldn't take more than I need at any time. Corridor, secret passage. I guess I can just go corridor here. That'll be fine. But yeah, pick up the pace. I guess it's berry picking time again. Berry picking, berry picking. Okay, cool. It's a good benefit. All hallway doors will be unlocked, right? And it's pathing. Coat check. Oh, but the coat check dead ends us, and I didn't get to draft anything that has a breakable wall. So we shouldn't get the coat check. Yeah, as far as I can tell, none of those are breakable, so it's not worth it. Dang. This is probably just the end then. But maybe the berry will come through. Aquarium or something. Great. Oh, God. That's wretched. Wow, the shovel? That's silly. I don't need that. Okay, I guess this is the end of our day today. So basically, all we really got to do today was read a nice, fun book. So, like, unfortunately, like, you know, it feels like no real progress was made. But I learned a new shrine blessing. Oh, and I'm going to have that for the next 2 days as well, of course. So we got a shrine blessing, and we got to read a new book, and I guess that's it. Getting the archives was the worst part. Like, that was the tough thing that kind of ruined everything for us. I could have or should have maybe tried to get the weight room back there, and I would have still had enough steps, and we probably would have been fine. It is what it is. Okay, so I guess that's probably it, unless by some chance There's a breakable wall somewhere else. Well, no, it doesn't matter. I didn't pick up the sledgehammer. Okay. We could search, though, because I have extra steps right now. I don't know why I picked up all the gems if I'm literally just going back through here right now, but perhaps somewhere down in the basement, or not the, like that little passageway that we opened up. No, the other elevator. So the basement we know has the one breakable thing, right? If we go down here, we should check to see if there are any more. I don't remember there being any, but also everything looks kind of ramshackle, so there could be something that I don't remember. Anything that seems kind of breakable through here? I would say not particularly. But then if you come down this way and we find the side path here. See, this I think we need the boiler room to connect to it. But I don't really know how you do that. The boiler room does not have any pathing though. If I went boiler room, dark room, archives, it gets cut off after that. Yeah. But I think this needs power from the boiler room and then it will open. This, I guess, is not breakable. This, let's hope it's not breakable. Okay. So I want to check that one final section that's like the cliff walk, we'll call it. Take this elevator down. Please and thank you. Yeah, like, there's so much Realm Sigil stuff still to figure out. And then what about all that stuff with the books? Like, when I was a New Clue book that had all the deciphering stuff in it? Why haven't I had any other encounters with that sort of stuff yet? It seemed like it was going to be such a huge thing, but I kind of feel like it never amounted to anything so far. Okay. Maybe there won't be anything here. Any of these walls seem kind of breakable. This one, maybe? I don't know. They don't look as obvious as the brick walls do, but at the same time, the like outdoor portion of that passageway that we broke through, that's something that's going to open up at some point. The outdoor portion doesn't look like brick. It looks like boarded up wood. So, I don't know. There's still many secrets. I just feel like I still am like missing stuff. Like I feel like I still haven't like seen the full story. If all that I'm doing is opening up tiny little extra mini puzzle shortcuts and things like that, then I guess, you know, to a degree we're gonna have to stop at some point. Like, what are we doing here? But I feel like there's more. I do feel like there's more. So I don't want to give up just yet. It's just that the more is kind of hard to come by sometimes. Does this section have any breakable pieces? It's so dark in here. It'd be hard to say. Are these things like something you can light with the red gems? No. I have to be able to make the red gem contraption again and go down into the tomb. That's another thing. Because there was a passageway through there. But I don't know. Like, hello, this whole place? When am I going to get the other thing for here? BlackBridge Grotto. So, like, these are the people, the BlackBridge guards, right? They're the ones who took out the unholy hounds. Like, that's obviously significant. But why and how? How do we get in there? I mean, the computer doesn't matter. We got into the computer. Computer doesn't matter. What matters is getting the other thing for here. Still just a lot of secrets. And the best way that I know how to make progress at this point is, yeah, unlocking extra, like, tidbits here and there through the use of contraptions. That's my best guess to move forward, is make the contraptions that allow you to knock down walls, that allow you to open up passageways with the candlesticks. Because as far as book deciphering, realm sigils, all that, it's just not, it's all been found, you know? Like, I've drafted all the rooms that I can. So I have to find new things. I have to be able to unlock new things. You know? We actually have all of the rooms at this point. We need one shop. I don't know how to unlock it. And then obviously there are other studio editions and possibly other found floor plans. But otherwise, like, everything else we've tried. We've got a school exam that we can take, sure. But I don't know. Okay, that's it for today. Oh, I have to call it a day, though. Do it the right way. Okay. Call it a day. I hope I'm not forgetting something. Call it. A respectable villa. 29 rooms. Rank reached 6. Steps taken 83. Items found 4. Well, yep. That's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to the story. If you listened to the whole thing, thank you. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye now.